Well, the thing is, we speak about ruminants, and when the gentleman at the back was introducing himself, he said, oh, he deals with small ruminants and large ruminants, he deals with cattle and everything. But we always wonder why it is that they're called ruminants, right? A lot of persons, when you speak about ruminants, persons will say, oh, ruminants have 4 stomachs. But really and truly, in the true sense of the word, it is 1 stomach with 4 compartments, if you want to call it that, right? So that is the definition of them. And also, it also depends on how they break down their feed material. Because most of us will know by now, working with ruminants, that it's microorganisms that are in the stomach that are breaking down the feed material. As a matter of fact, there was a new school of thought to say that when you're thinking about feeding ruminants, you're not feeding the animal itself. Think about feeding the microbes in the stomach, because they're the ones that are doing all the work. They're the ones that are breaking down all the plant material so that the animal body can absorb it. So when you're thinking about nutrition, think about the microbes in the stomach that you're feeding. Of course, we'll speak about their differences, because we all know, some of us will say, okay, we have in terms of sheep, you have wool sheep, and you have the hair sheep. As a matter of fact, before we go there, who knows what is the difference between when you say when it's a breed and what is a species? What's the difference between those 2 words?
Species if it's goat or sheep, and breeders if it's an Anglo-Nubian and Boer, or it's a black belly, or if it's a...
So basically, it's the natural development of that particular animal. So like you're saying, the goat is a species because it's naturally developed that way. But then because we want to create different forms of this animal, then we create what we call different breeds. Right? So of course within different breeds, within the breed you're going to have different types of animal, different breeds if you want to call it that. And then you're going to have different species. So the goat is a different species from the sheep. And within those species you have breeds. Right? So this is just kind of explaining why it is that you say breed sometime and you say species. If you don't understand, clarify, right? So it's just to say there are differences and we have to recognize that there are differences. The differences, they will say, is based on how we even classify them, right? In terms of their physical characteristics, when we're talking about some are hair sheep or some are wool sheep, or in terms of their foraging behavior. Who can tell me the difference between the foraging behavior of the sheep and the goat? Goats browse and sheep? Exactly. And you understand what I mean by the browsing and the grazing? Yes. Okay, so grazing is when they're kind of eating closer to the ground. Right? So like the sheep and cattle also graze. They eat the grass that is closest to the ground. Browsing is when they like to pick at things that are a little higher, like little trees and, you know, other little succulent plants, shrubs and all these sort of things, right? So that is the browsing behavior of the animal. When we speak about other behavior, tell me one other behavior that we always say is the difference between sheep and goats and why persons prefer sometimes to rear sheep other than to rear goats. Goats like to wander. We say the goats give more problems. They tend to want to jump the fence more or a little more individualistic. The sheep are a little bit more calmer, right? Easier to manage and everything. So that is one of what we speak about, the behavior of them. Reproduction, we know that because of their genetic makeup, you won't be able to breed both of them. In some cases, though, they say that they have done something to be able to get some kind of offspring from them, but generally that is not the case, right? Nutrition, tell me one thing in nutrition that you know that you have to pay attention to, because we know that with small ruminants, we tend to treat them alike. We tend to feed them basically the same way and, you know, house them and everything, but there's one kind of particular difference that we tend to look at. One thing that we have to be careful of, especially when it comes to sheep. In terms of nutrition, let me give you another clue. Copper toxicity. Sheep are a little bit more sensitive to copper than goats, right? So in terms of feeding, you would have to be careful. You may get away, I think, with feeding sheep with a feed that has been formulated for sheep to give to goats, but then you'll have to be careful if you have a formulation for feed for goats that you will tend to give to sheep, because you'll have to check that level, right? Diseases, we have some diseases, but most of the diseases affect both animals, right? And We spoke about social dominance, so we speak about the goats giving problems and the sheep are a little bit more easier to handle. Right? Oh, tell me one feature that one could look at to tell the difference between a goat and a sheep.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, but let me go with the tail first. What about the tail? Goat tail what? Goat tail is up and the sheep tail hangs down. Yes. That is one of the major things, and you know the difference between the goat and the sheep, all right? And for those who were speaking about the head, why you say the head? I hear you whispering the head. No,
Because the head, I think the sheep head is a bit rounder than the goat's.
I wouldn't use the head. Exactly, I would use the head because different breeds of animals have different shape in terms of the head and the nose and the ears and horn and everything. Yeah, the goat one tend to stand up mostly too. Sheep one tend to, but some of the goats, you couldn't use that because the poor goat horns curve, so you may not be able to use that, right? So there are some little differences that we can look at.